with you?
Copper has been with us since end of July.
Okay.
She came in with 4 friends, unfortunately, as well. We went to collect her, yes, and unfortunately her feet, well, all their feet were in a very bad way, very malnourished. When we went to collect them, we decided to take them straight down to the vet surgery to x-ray their feet. Their feet were so long. Unfortunately for Copper, her feet were the worst, and she had rotation in all 4 kegel bones.
Your Royal Highness, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. Well, may I also add my thanks to Alistair Barr and Bristol Vet School for their hospitality today and for this opportunity to come to a different part of the country, but also in support of the new centre at Somerton. That new centre, I think, also defines the future of the ILPH and how much we've moved on, and we really have gone from strength to strength. I think we are more professional and a more efficient organisation than we've ever been in understanding our role, what we can do and how to do it more efficiently. The quality and the quantity of the ILPH's welfare work does ensure that the name of the charity is well known. It is in the public eye, it responds to situations that arise and makes sure that that message is in front of the public eye. And it is widely known and appreciated. I would suggest that although there are rather a lot of other horse charities, about 150 of them I think at the last count, and that's a completely separate debate, we're not going to go there. But I would suggest that the ILPH is really the leader in the art of rehabilitating horses. It has set the standard in rehabilitation as a method of making a real difference. And we, because of that understanding of rehabilitation and having a worldwide reach, we are constantly thinking ahead about the problems that horses face, not just overseas but here in Britain as well. There is part of the major exercise called Fit for Future, and John Smales will cover that in detail later. The ILPH is examining carefully how best it can serve the needs of horses around the world and is prepared to adapt and change when it's necessary to achieve this, and I think that's something that we have been doing pretty successfully in the past as well. When you look at horse welfare around the world, there is a temptation, I think, for some people in this country to think that we do it better, that we look after horses better than they do anywhere else. And maybe in that you see less starving and badly shod horses here compared with some of the poorer countries of the world. That may be true, but problems do exist here in the UK, as we have heard. And to add to that, the example that there are 30,000 calls a year to the ILPH welfare line suggests there is an understanding and an awareness of problems here in the UK. But your chairman also made the point that an awful lot of it is about ignorance. And I think that's true. I think the story of your field officers' visits highlights another approach, which is a non-confrontational approach, understanding the situation that these animals and their owners are in before making any assumptions. So I think that the news of the ILPH is to add education to its portfolio as a standalone function. It is very important. Teaching how to look after your horse properly at all levels is a major step to improving welfare in the UK. And I'm not going to rehearse the points already made about many people coming into horse owning have very little background knowledge of animal welfare, never mind horse welfare. And we ought to look at it from that perspective. And things have moved on. There is a lot more knowledge and information out there. The tricky bit about accumulation of knowledge and the research programs are that sometimes there's a tendency to ignore what went before because there's so much knowledge available now. That doesn't mean that the knowledge that was there before is wrong. And you have to keep going back to those. You have to add the knowledge onto what was there, not replace it. That means there's an awful lot of knowledge available. And using the appropriate systems and the openings and access points available to ensure that people do understand that knowledge and what it means to them is actually quite tricky. And I think that's one of the things that we've got to learn: how to use IT better, how to use schools better, how to use the veterinary colleges better, how to make the links better so that the knowledge points are available at all levels. I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons we're pleased to be here is the new farm in Somerset. And I think anybody who had been to the Glenderspoon farm in Herefordshire would have fallen in love with it, because it was such a lovely spot and the atmosphere was terrific. But it did have its limitations, and it was a little too remote and too small to be truly effective. And I think all of you would agree that the move to Somerton, in terms of the scale and the design, will make it much easier to do what we know is necessary in terms of supporting horse owners and rehabilitating horses. In the future, the ILPH intends to increase still further its investment in and the effectiveness of the international training and our campaigning. And those are key. They're key to us because they're a way of transforming our knowledge and experience into something very constructive and useful. But it's also how we learn. And everywhere we go, we continue to learn lessons from our experiences. And that is true whichever country in the world we work in. All of them will have their own local coping mechanisms and understandings of a tradition with horses. And we need to learn what those are, how they work, whether they have value, in order that we can make the best use of our knowledge to help them. And to know that we are going to make sure that those horses which are used are not abused in anybody's definition of that term. In terms of transport, there are a third fewer horses than in 2000 now making that last long-distance journey to slaughter. And that is in no small part thanks to the ILPH, who influenced the EU to make immediate welfare improvements. And for the remaining 100,000 involved in this trade annually, we need to improve it still more. So the campaign continues. I mentioned before the number of other charities. And as I say, that's not a debate for now, but they are important partners too, because many of them have their own history and experience. And that partnership is equally important to making sure that we cover all the bases here in Britain in terms of how we can support each other in welfare terms. We believe that we have a responsibility in the partnership between horses and humans, and spreading that belief and sadly picking up the pieces of where it hasn't worked is the responsibility of this organisation. I would suggest that the ILPH does more for horses worldwide than anyone else, but then I expect you to say I probably would. But that's in a number of different ways, through relentless campaigning, the ongoing rescue and rehabilitation, and the training they undertake in the UK and further afield, or through our education. And it is from the chairman's stories of the response to our training where it happens is perhaps the greatest encouragement that we have, because it's appreciated. We are not teaching people who don't want to know. We are teaching people who inherently do want to know how to do the job better, and they understand why we can help them. And all of that, I hope you will find that from today is an encouragement, because those stories always add up to make you feel that you're really making an impact. And part of today is to bring those examples to the fore, and so that you can judge how effective the ILPH is really being. Because without people like your good selves supporting the organisation, we certainly wouldn't be able to make any difference, either in the UK or worldwide. And that is the important partnership that we're talking about today with our supporters, those who can increase our network of understanding of what the ILPH can do with other organisations, with individuals who are funding, with other interested parties around the world. That we can show you we really can make a difference, and in the best possible way, with people who want to be our partners and who want to make a difference themselves in their own countries. And that really does mean either in Britain or abroad. So thank you for joining us today and for your support, and I hope continued support, but also continue to spread the word with your friends and other contacts. And I certainly look forward to the rest of today. Thank you.